Good morning, natural gas. It's Tuesday, July the 28th, 2026. I'm Tim Beggans, president of Elk Trading Company. And for the spot August natural gas contract, we're currently down. That's right, we're down to 271 and a half, down 5.2 cents or almost 2%. And as you can see, the RSI is still to the downside. We're well below the 13 and 48 period exponential moving averages. Today is option expiration. That means futures go off the board tomorrow. That's right, we're triggering that 275 option strike here on the put side, where there's plenty of open interest. We'll take a look at that in a second. August just can't get off the mat. It's boiling down here in Houston. Heat indices close to 108 throughout the week, but we're getting nothing on the August natural gas contract. Let's take a look at the hourly chart, and as you can see, we're well below the daily pivot here, which came in at 277.90. Right now, we're holding just below first support at 272.2. Below it, 267.70. The RSI has just been snaking along here for the last day and a half here on the sell side. So going nowhere fast. Looks like we're just going to go down to sideways for option expiration today, making sure we trigger the 275 puts. Let's take a look at the open interest on the NYMEX here, and it's only 19,324 going into today. So low open interest, typical at this time of year. And let's take a look at the options. Again, the heaviest open interest is at the 275 strike, although we do have stuff at 270 and again 265 and 260, as well as another cluster here at 250. So it's going to be a little congested. Looks like the pressure is still on for option expiration today. Let's take a look at the front to back spreads. Well, with the front coming off here, we're up here 1.2 cents here today. 139.70 here. Right now, the RSI is pointing higher here. This is Jan versus October. This is the injection spread. So this actually is saying incentivizing storage injections. We'll see. Let's take a look at the ERCOT here, and we're going to have just over 42,700 here megawatts of available capacity for wind and solar when we peak this afternoon here at 5 o'clock. But take a look at our load here, just under 88,000 megawatts for ERCOT. These are extremely heavy loads here. Again, we set the record just a few days ago, over 90,000 megawatts. As a result, natural gas is still below solar. Right now, over 22,000 megawatts here for natural gas, or about 34.5% of the fuel mix here. But look at solar, over 27,435. So solar continues to be the king for fuel mix here in ERCOT with the sunny, very hot conditions. Wind, as a result, though, will stay quite low here. It will be below 20,000 megawatts here at its peak this evening. And let's take a look at the national grid, and our pain points are still the same. SPP, PJM is already spiked this morning, and MISO here is expected to get over $138 today. So that's our area for pain in the electric markets. ERCOT and CalCell, that's California, fairly mild. NYSO, which is New York State, ISO-NE, that's New England, and IESO, excuse me, is the Ontario system. They're just kind of spiking along this morning with some volatility. But overall here, again, the pain is in the South and PJM. So let's take a look at the national weather here. This is the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook, and this is quite supportive here. Above normal temperatures in the interior west, that's going to be our common theme here for the next week. And again, we're starting to see above normal temperatures along the East Coast. So it becomes interior west, shifting then over to the southeast and up the East Coast, which is as what you can see here in the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook. But for the August futures contract, it's a little bit too little, too late. Let's take a look at the heat risk here, and this is the heat risk going forward. This is today, over 8 million people in extreme heat risk. This is from New Mexico all the way to Florida. This continues as we go through the forecast period. There's Thursday, over 5 million, 14 million as we get Tucson and Phoenix and Vegas in the mix here. But we're shifting to the interior west for this extreme heat. As you can see, Chicago to New York to Boston, even almost down to Atlanta, is relatively mild as we get into Saturday. This interior heat continues into Sunday. And then Monday, it starts to ease up a little bit. So let's take a look what the model says going forward past that. This is going to be August the 4th here. And as you can see, that interior west here continues to warm up. Texas all the way up to the Midwest. And then as you can start to see late in the period here, there's the 100-degree temperatures. This is the European AI model here, so it's relatively conservative. Again, hundreds here in the southeast and now creeping up into Virginia. That's what's showing up on that 8 to 14-day temperature outlook. So again, the heat is concentrated in the south, Texas to Florida, and now coming up the East Coast. But again, a little bit too little, too late for the August contract. How about Europe here? This is European temperature anomaly. And again, it is roasting here as we get into the end of the month here. This is tomorrow for France and Spain. Very, very, very warm. They've had over 300,000 people evacuated for wildfires. And this risk continues here for another few days before they finally get some relief around the 8th or 9th here. There's a little bit on the 7th here. Here's the 8th. There's a little bit of relief in the temperatures. But then there's another brief period for the 11th and 12th for some warmer temperatures to come back in. So overall, looks a little bit less extreme, but the relief is brief. Let's take a look at the TTF contract here for August, and it's actually off 2% today, down to 57.075. Again, this is euros per megawatt hour. And let's take a look at the European storage, 55.7% full. That looks like it's okay, still trailing along the bottom here. But let's take a look at some of the real problem children here. There's Belgium running below its minimal level here. Again, last year, over 87% full. This year, 32% full. Let's take a look at Great Britain. This was 33% full last year, 25% this year, so looks still bad. And there's the Netherlands. And again, here's the problem, 57%, 35% full to this year. But look, we're about to peak in injections. That's right. Over the next 2 weeks, we peak out for most of these countries historically, which means they've got to step it up at the wrong time. Let's take a look at Asia. And Asia is the same here. In India, it's fairly mild here, just seasonal temperatures, a little bit of warmth coming in at the end of the month here. But as you can see, the heat here is from Shanghai back up to Beijing. And this continues as we go through the forecast period. There's that warmer temperature coming in on the 8th of August. So it starts to get very, very warm. And the northern tier of China, the southern tier is actually slightly below normal. So this is interesting news there. So let's take a look at LNG, and there's the gas log Shanghai loading up here at Ras Laffan. That's good news there, but it's only been one tanker at a time every few days, and there is very little traffic moving through the Strait of Hormuz. And again, looks like it's starting to back up here at Oman. So we'll see if this strait actually reopens here. And let's take a look at the US LNG, currently 1.426 here for Cameron. This is great news, steady as she goes. Freeport, same thing, 1.2. That's good, steady as she goes there. And there's some slight improvement here at Creole Trail that feeds feeds Sabine Pass. And there's 300,000 of open capacity, but that's a slight improvement. And over at Corpus Christi, even better. It's good news here, almost 2.57 here at BCF out of 2.57 out of 2.75, excuse me, BCF out of the capacity there. So that's good news, running as steady as she goes. And here's Calcasieu Pass. There's still open capacity, but again, we're about that even 400,000 that we've been looking at for the last few weeks. And here is Plaquemines, and it's got some open capacity. This is a little bit of going in the wrong direction. So been running over nameplate capacity, but now starting to ease up on the throttle. Golden Pass, steady, about 330,000 MMBTUs out of 800 to 850,000 capacity for train one. So steady as she goes. She did load a ship the other day. That's good news. That would be at least ship number 3, but we're yet to see the ramp up here. We've got to start seeing a ramp up here, especially as temperatures start to cool off soon. And let's see the US nuclear fleet steady here as well. 1.1 gigawatts are offline today. Not bad. It is ready for summer. We do see this starting to ease up as we get into mid-September, and then we start the next refueling season. How about the tropics? Well, here's the mid-Atlantic. Nothing as she goes here right now. Here's the US. Some activity offshore, a little bit to the west of Florida, a little bit down here near, looks like Honduras. Or that's Nicaragua. Sorry, Nicaragua. So not much here. Why? You guessed it. Saharan air layer. And there's a big plume of it heading off into the Caribbean, and it is cutting off anything developing in the mid-Atlantic. So again, very, very quiet Atlantic hurricane season. Here's the Canadian, I can't talk today. Canadian smoke and particulate matter here going into the United States as we go through the forecast period. Not much here. There is still some fires out in the Pacific Northwest in the United States, which is actually pushing some smoke back into Canada. So this is good news there. So everything is okay except for in Japan. We've got a big earthquake. It was initially expected to be 7.1 on the Richter scale. It was downgraded to 6.8. It's still a big, big earthquake. There are 3 nuclear power plants in the vicinity. All have reported to be okay right now. So good news there. But again, that ring of fire is starting to be very, very active this year. And here are stocks in the oil and gas E&P sector. Stocks between $2 and $10 billion have a high short float over 10%. And as you can see, it's a mixed bag. Behind me, Magnolia up 1.94%, but the others are still down. The weakest one here, BKV, down 0.57. So right now for the August natural gas contract, here it is, setting new lows right now, 269.20, down 7.5 cents here. Today is option expiration for the August contract. Futures go off the board tomorrow. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.